Hello. Uh, as part of Kubernetes Labs, let us do one Kubernetes Lab. This is provided by O'Reilly, and this is one of their premium courses. This is part of CKS certification. This lab is created by Benjamin Moshko. So I'm gonna solve this question right now. So the identifying immutable containers, currently, like this, there's this, what are we going to do is like inspecting an existing pod for mutability. Then we'll gonna make the container immutable, and we verify that correct runtime behavior and all that. All right, so I'm gonna start the lab. And while the session is getting prepared for ourselves, uh, so now let me read this one. Inspect the pod named hash in the default namespace. Make sure that the pod transitions into the running status. And then question is asking us to open an interactive shell to the pod and find the file created by the container process. Have a look at the contents of the file. So that's what it is asking. So now let's see, on the right side I can see that uh, pod has been created. Let me check it out. kubectl get pod -n default, right? So it's still in creating. So let's watch until it gets transitioned into the running state. So -w is going to helps us to watch. All right, let's see. uh, it's in running state. The first question is like inspecting the pod named hash in the default namespace. Make sure that the pod transitions into the running status, right? And here is a little bit of tricky question. He's asking us to open an interactive shell to the pod and find the file created by the container process. Have a look at the contents of the file. So generally, this pod has one container, obviously, and that container is creating a file. And so if this container is creating a file via the container process, then that means like it is coming from a shell, right? So in this, instead of going into the interactive shell, first let's describe this pod and look at the container arguments. Suppose if you see this argument, so this is a container and the hash is a container, and it is using a command, and the container process is creating a file called var config hash.txt. So if we copy that and then we enter into kubectl, now we open interactive shell ti to the pod. That means hash and then shell, right? So here we are in the pod, and now let us see what is this file which is created by the container. This is a file, it exists. And let us also see what this file contains. Is like a hash, some hash, correct? So once that's what it has been asked. Now we verified the mutability. Suppose like now you see touch /var /text.txt, right? So it got created. So that means we can access the file system for it and all that. So yeah, you can see this. So it's absolutely good, right? So now let's exit from this pod container, and now we'll go to the next section of this question. So the next section of question is saying that the container running in the pod is considered mutable. that's what we have noticed. We created a file and it got created, so it is mutable. And let's make relevant changes to this part so that its container can be considered as a immutable. Okay, let's figure that out. So now this is mutable, but let's make it as an immutable. So the read only, the root file system, we should put it in a root. So what this question here, initially if you would have noticed, there is a file kubectl create -f setup.yaml is already exists. So this file, we are going to make some changes to those files to make sure that the container is immutable. So the first one, what we are saying is that let's add a security context. Security context. Security context. We are adding a security context and we are saying that read only root file system equals to true. So this make sure that root file system is not root file system is immutable now. Okay, so now this also helps us to have the whole container in a immutable state, but the container purpose is to create this hash file in that particular file, right? Hash.txt file. So now what we need to do is like we need to create a volume so that the actual operation runs, but everywhere else it, other than this particular /var/config directory, we cannot write it anywhere, right? So let's create a volume and the name would be something like a hash wall, and we'll go with the empty dir. Okay, so this is a type of volume. So now here we need to add a volume mount also. So yeah, looks like under the in the container. So now in the container, okay, volume mounts, right? And name would be again hash wall, and mount path would be /var/config. All right, so this is something what we have written. This particular manifest makes our container immutable. So now in order to do that, we cannot make modifications to the running pod. So what we need to do is we need to delete the pod immediately. Okay, pod got immediately deleted. So now we will go and apply whatever we have created. Cannot be spec dot volume. Okay, there seems to be an error. Okay, looks like what we have written here in the file is that it should be volumes. We have written volume only, so that's why that error came. Yeah, pod hash created. So now let's also wait until the pod transitions into running state. Oh, it's already running, so now we don't have to do anything. So now let us go into this pod and try to see if it is immutable or not, right? So okay, now we are in the pod. Suppose if you see ls-l /var/config /hash.text, it is created. If I touch anything under this same, it should work, and text.txt, and it should work. Suppose if you see it here, you would be able to have two files, but if I touch another file like test.txt here in /var probably, yeah, it shows read-only file system. So this shows that the container we made the container as immutable. So this is how we can identify immutable containers.